If you've seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you're probably familiar with the importance of names within the universe. As written in the article, Names as a Way of Exploring Identity in Buffy, author Robin Moon writes, quote, "In Buffy, certain names are allocated to characters coexisting yet polarizing selves to create a clear distinction between them. Not only does this apply to villainous alter egos, but also different stages of some characters' lives. Each name has an association with a particular time or phase of self-discovery, and all are important to the characters in different ways." We see this represented repeatedly throughout the show with characters like Lily/Anne/Chanterelle, or with Anya,
Anya Christina Emanuela Jenkins, 20 years old.
or with entire episodes like Tabula Rasa. And even with Buffy herself, whose name was chosen because of the way it stood out to audiences and the comedic contrast with the second half, the Vampire Slayer. But I'm not here to talk about the fascinating histories and meanings behind names in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, although I did read a few pages about it earlier. I'm here to talk about why there are so many fucking characters named William. There are a few prominent theories behind the naming of characters Williams and their variations. The aforementioned variations I'll be discussing today of William will be William, Will, Willie, Bill, Billy, and Liam, as well as the last name Williams and the variations of the last name William. I'll mention before I go into this that none of these theories are more correct than another. Any of them can be taken as reasoning, but to my knowledge none of them were the actual reason within the writer's room. To begin, here's a portion of a post by Gumgnome33 on the Buffy boards back in 2011, citing Rhonda Wilcox's Why Buffy Matters. Quote, "Three major characters, then, all share the name William. William and Willow are both trying to reinvent themselves as no longer geeky, sensitive outcasts. So is Spike Willow's double, or her shadow, or the embodiment of her desire for Buffy? This parallel does not, however, apply to the never-geeky Angel/Liam. William means a protector. This meaning could be said to apply at some points in the plot to Spike, Angel, and Willow. The notable episode Lie to Me contains another significant William, Billy Fordham. This further serves to point out the overall William, Will, Liam, Willie, Billy naming pattern. I would argue that one effect of the pattern is to remind viewers on some level of the connections between bad guys and the good guys, and the fact that any of us could cross that line. Spike, Angel, and Willow are perhaps the most notable examples in the Buffyverse of characters who are capable of memorable good or vicious evil. This is an example of the first major thinking, a connection between characters and their struggles with morality, and viewing such as black and white versus grayscale. As mentioned previously, the name William can mean a willing protector, as it comes from the Germanic Wilhelm, with will meaning will and desire, and helm meaning helmet or protection. In prominent moments of their storylines, Spike, Angel, and Willow are all protectors, but also cause massive harm and destruction. It's possible that being derived from William, but going by a different name entirely, shows the duality of their actions. It's also possible that this is not true, and I'm just talking out of my ass, and that's up for you to decide. In another thinking behind the naming of the various Williams would be the social perception. William has been one of the most famous baby boy names for centuries. In fact, William hasn't left the top 20 name rankings in America since 1880. So from this knowledge we can assume that any person named William could represent an any man, or a blank slate. It's a completely ordinary name, similar to Spike and Angel when they were humans. Ordinary men who would not be missed if they were gone. Angel was a drunken Irish layabout, if you can qualify David Boreanaz's accent as Irish.
"I'd offer myself as escort to protect you from harm and to while away the dull hours."
And Spike was a dorky poet, and nobody around him cared if he lived or died, besides his mother. Willow also shares similar fears in being viewed as a nobody, or who she was in high school, which we get a way better look at in Season 4, Episode 22, Restless. Discussing both her sexuality and her anxieties around not being able to grow up, she wanders around this dream she can't escape. We see a similar refrain in her character over and over again as the years go on. In Season 5, Episode 16, The Body, she asks Tara,
"God, why do all of my shirts have to have stupid things on them? Why can't I just dress like a grown-up? Can I be a grown-up?"
It's also a major part of her arc as Dark Willow in Season 6 as she struggles with the loss of Tara. In Season 6, Episode 21, 2 to Go, Dark Willow tells Buffy,
Let me tell you something about Willow. She's a loser, and she always has been. People picked on Willow in junior high school, up until college, with her stupid mousy ways. And now, Willow's a junkie.
Even in a completely transformed state of herself, she's still self-conscious about who she was, even back in high school. The William self. So could it be possible that the name William could represent the era before becoming yourself, whoever that may be? Could it represent the transformation from an innocent to something more dangerous? Or perhaps the anxieties that come with change in the perception of your peers? Again, I have no clue. Now, the thing that confuses me the most about the use of the name in the universe isn't actually what the writers meant when they named them. It's the relentless use of it. William and its variations seems to be a catch-all for character names. From major characters, to side characters, to uncredited actors, to names you see written on a paper. Again, we already established that William is an incredibly popular name, but I feel like that can't be the only reason. I know that there are instances of background characters being named after crew, but I'm not counting those. I'm counting all of the other ones. In no particular order, our main characters, William/Spike, Liam/Angel, Will/Willow. But then we have our side characters. Willie the Snitch, the owner of the demon bar Willie's Place. Billy Fordham, or Ford, who was a friend of Buffy's back in Los Angeles, who ended up double-crossing her in favor of getting sired to save his own life. Both of these characters do lend themselves to the idea that the name represents gray morality, as Willie the Snitch is a human who works for demons but isn't always actively against the Scoobies. Everything he does is to protect himself, and it's not done with malicious intent. Most of the time. Ford, on the other hand, was another human who also didn't have purely malicious intent. Again, his actions were only done to protect himself, but were, in fact, evil. In the Season 2 episode Lie to Me, he explains to Buffy that he has a brain tumor and will be dead in 6 months. He says it as a reasoning behind all of his actions and to explain away why he did all that he did. Buffy retorts,
You have a choice. You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice. You're opting for mass murder here, and nothing you say is gonna make that okay.
As for the characters that aren't on the grayscale and are pretty black and white morally, we have Billy Palmer and William Blim. Billy Palmer was a 12-year-old boy who was beaten into a coma by his Little League coach. He's a classic example of a good guy. A child generally represents innocence, and this isn't an exception. The metaphors of his episode, Season 1, Episode 10, Nightmares, aren't actually about the character himself, so we can take him without that much nuance. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, though, we have William Blim, or Billy, who you may know from the episode Billy, Angel Season 3, Episode 6. In an episode about violent misogyny, Billy is the violent misogynist. I won't go too much into the episode, but I will say that this is another character who doesn't have much nuance. He's just a really bad guy. Most Angel fans, including myself, would describe him as probably one of the scariest in the entire series. Like many of the scariest episodes and characters in the universe, they aren't monsters covered in blood and guts. They represent real things. So, now we have William, Liam, Will, Willie, Billy, Billy, and Billy. Who else could there possibly be, you might ask? Well, let's talk last names. There are 2 other pretty major characters who have last names derived from William. Those last names are Wilkins and Wilkinson, as in Mayor Richard Wilkins III and Ben Wilkinson, aka Glory, aka Glorificus, aka Most Beauteous and Magnificent One. Not that Ben and Glory have any kind of connection. Again, you might say, are Wilkins and Wilkinson really derived from William? Yes. Wilkins is Germanic, and it means small son of William. Wilkinson means son of Wilkins. But the Mayor and Ben aren't the only characters who share a last name that's a derivative of William. Olivia, who's Giles' friend from England, who we meet in Season 4, Episode 10, Hush, also has the last name Williams. And, do you by any chance remember Season 2, Episode 18, Killed by Death, where Buffy gets sent to the hospital with the flu? Then you may remember that her doctor was named Dr. Wilkinson, which brings us back to son of Wilkin, small son of William. This is the portion where I lose track of any possible meaning behind the name William in relation to these characters. But I'm in fact still not done. William Moore is a Sunnydale High School student whose name appears in Season 3, Episode 5, Homecoming, as it's written in Buffy's notebook. Also written down there is the student Billy Ninguna, who is not the only Billy at Sunnydale. There's also a student named Billy Crandall, mentioned in Season 2, Episode 19, I Only Have Eyes for You, by the receptionist who says,
Mr. Snyder, Billy Crandall chained himself to the snack machine again.
Pathetic little no-life vegan.
Moving over to Los Angeles, on Angel, we also read about William Pearson, father of Dennis Pearson, who Angel fans may know better as the Phantom Dennis, aka Cordelia's good friend and ghostly roommate. Still in LA, we hear about William Redonliceri, an employee of Wolfram and Hart, We also see the name Billy Price, a friend of Tina's, all the way back in the first episode, Season 1, Episode 1, City of. We're referred to another man named Billy 17 episodes later in the episode 5x5, in which himself and his girlfriend are dancing in a club at the Bronze and make the mistake of being even remotely hostile near Faithful Hain.
Billy, do something! Yeah, Billy, do something!
They are immediately consumed by a brawl. Then, quickly after, in episode 20, Blind Date, we meet another man named Bill, who's an attorney for Wolfram and Hart.
Bill, Chuck, do you remember Lindsay McDonald, our point man on Miss Brewer's case?
Back to last names, we hear about a man named Carter Williams, a forger for Wolfram and Hart, who's referenced by Lila Morgan.
Get Carter Williams on the phone. The graphic artist. Look under F for forger.
As for the comic books, please take note of William, Willie, Bill, Billy, and Billy. I won't get into those because, aside from the brief blissful era of Buffy seasons 10 and 11 and Angel and Faith seasons 9, I refuse to touch those storylines with the 17-foot pole. I actually have read all of them, I just really don't want to think about them. Oh yeah, in Buffy episode Life Cereal, Warren is seen wearing a hat with the name Willie embroidered on it. I'm sure that there are plenty that are missing, but to my knowledge, those are all of the characters in the Buffyverse related to the name William. That's only William, Liam, Will, Billy, Billy, William, Bill, Billy, William, Bill, Billy, Willie, and Williams, Wilkins, Wilkinson, and Wilkinson. And Willie. I hope you all learned something. I know that I did not.